1290. Agree or disagree, ask a question, or share information. It's time to sound off. Now, here's Greg.
And good morning, it is 10:07 here, and hour number 2 on Sound Off with myself, Greg Pregent, and Bettina Chadbourne, special co-host here on AM 1290 and FM 107.5 and Wkbk Radio.com. Thanks for joining us here this morning. This program brought to you by Elm City Bagels and Deli. They've got bagels, soups, and salads, lunch goodies, platters, gluten-free options. They're on West Street in Keene, right across from the Colony Mill Marketplace. You can call us with your comments and questions at 357-1290 or email the show at gpregent@wkbkradio.com. And also, too, you can follow along our conversation this morning on Facebook. Coming a little later on in the show at 10:35 this morning, Josephine and Brian Russell will be joining us. They'll be calling and talking about the new yoga center they'll be opening up in Keene on Roxbury Street. 11 to 11:30, we'll have some open phone times, talk about what you want to talk about. Then 11:30 to noon this morning, we'll have Jerry Sickles. He's a Republican candidate in Cheshire District 16 for a House seat. We'll talk to him about his candidacy. And speaking of that also, too, don't forget, we'll have Chris Coates and Dale Pregent on the show next week for they're running for county commissioners, and we'll talk about their candidacy. But right now, we want to welcome into the studio, we have Kevin Dremel and Eric Hedin. Did I get that right? Hedin. Okay, from the Keene Music Festival. And they're joining us here this morning to talk about that festival. And we also have a Zach in the studio. He's behind us tuning up his guitar. We're going to have a little live performance in a few minutes from that. That's really cool. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Appreciate it. And now the Keene Music Festival has been around for a few years, but I kind of want to let the listeners know, give a kind of a quick history of the Keene Music Festival. And like, when did you guys start years ago? And now it's kind of a pretty good sized event for the city of Keene, but maybe you can tell us about how it all started.
Okay, well, the history is this is the 14th year for the Keene Music Festival. It was started by a group of local people, and I think the first one, if I remember correctly, happened behind, over by where the co-op is now, on the back of a truck. They had a stage up there, they had a bunch of local bands.
Yeah.
It's been going for 14 years since. Over time, it's gotten bigger and bigger. This year, we have 15 stages running with about 85 acts, all in one day.
Wow.
And it's all for free.
And that's one of the nice things, too.
Yeah.
So wow, you guys have been doing it for 14 years now. Now, this is just a community event? I mean, this is something that is, you guys are a non-profit, you're not making any money on this is just for the community and for the benefit of the musicians, right?
Exactly. I mean, this is really kind of, the best way of looking at it is a gift to the community from the local musicians and from musicians from the area. This year we had over 3,000 acts apply to be part of this.
3,000?
3,000.
Wow.
Which is kind of amazing. It's slowly developing a reputation as being a great place to come and play music. We have a lot of people who come back year after year. We have new people coming in. We also run a whole series of other shows in the community. We do some fundraising through shows for the Sumner Night Chapel.
Okay.
We work with other charities when they ask us to come in. And we also work with other businesses when they need help figuring out how to bring live music into their place.
Okay, excellent. And so, wow, that's a lot of acts. So
yeah.
Now, is there a jury? You know, like, do people listen? Do you guys kind of say, listen to people's music? I mean, obviously, if you're getting 3,000 acts who are soliciting, you don't know all of them, obviously.
Oh no, we actually have several sessions where we go through. We're always giving preference to local and regional musicians. Mm-hmm. Although we do have some bands coming up, like from New York City.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What's the farthest away that someone actually applied to play at the Keene Music Festival?
Not this year, but last year we had a band from Iran.
Really?
Wanting to come over and play, which was kind of interesting. They heard about it somehow and said, we want to come play.
There are people from California who send tapes in.
Yeah, really. And so now, though, I assume, though, they didn't actually make it then last year?
No.
No, they didn't.
No.
And so what's, in the acts, what's the farthest act away you have from this year? Is it too far away, or like you said, you try and keep it fairly local then, right?
We try to keep it local, although we have a country band coming up from New York City.
Oh, excellent.
Which I think is really good. We've been really pushing to get more country bands, and it's been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, because I remember last year, I don't think was there any country acts last year?
No, we couldn't find any.
There was, some bluegrass and kind of folk, but that's still a little different than country, so to speak.
So then this is really great. It's called Karen and the Sorrows. They're just really fantastic. And they're going to be playing at Lamson Street. I gotta look at all my different schedules here.
Sure.
I can never keep it straight. They are playing at 3:30.
3:30.
They're an alt country band. They're just really great. I mean, just beautiful music.
Okay, and now when does the music festival start on Saturday?
It starts around 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
We have a couple of acts starting. We actually are still looking for one act for the Keene Farmers Market.
Okay.
We're going to start there. The first acts on our main stage start at 10:45 with a band called Little Ugly, which I think is also out of New York, I think. They're an Americana band. And then we have everybody's favorite Zombie Beatdown at 10:45.
That's
Excellent.
right.
That's Eric's band.
And I was just going to say, that's Eric's band. Now, Eric, why don't you describe, talk about your band a little bit?
Sure. We're kind of a classic punk rock band. I
Mhm.
was one of the original punks back in the late 70s, just kind of carried it through. I
Sure.
decided I wanted to bring punk rock to Keene, and years ago, when we moved here about 8 years ago, I went to the Keene Music Fest, and my goal was to play there, and I had to pay my dues and play at a couple of places. Kevin came to see us, and
Mhm.
so this is my 4th year playing there.
Excellent. So now, what do you guys do? You guys play original music? You play some covers? Some Sex Pistols, some Ramones.
Well, you're in the right genre.
Okay, all right. Okay, that style of music. Sure.
Yeah, and we do all originals, but it's recognizable as kind of that classic punk genre.
Excellent. Okay.
We have a great time. We do a clean show because we have a lot of fans who are little kids.
Yeah,
who are
okay, yeah, I can
going and slam dancing.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the thing that our parents used to go, oh no, punk rock, quick, hide the sharp objects.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you're covering some Sex Pistols song, then there's some naughty words and some of those songs.
You can mumble those nowadays.
All right. Great. Well, that's cool. Now, where and when again are you playing on Saturday?
Okay, we're at the Railroad Square stage at 11:45, kind of early. And
Get your day going with some punk music.
Yep.
Excellent.
And I'm hoping to see more teenagers there this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Excellent.
if you're out there, parents, tell your kids to come down to Music Fest. Because it seems that we don't have a lot of middle-aged kids. We have little kids, and then it kind of jumps up to 20s.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? Is that just I know being in the radio business, that's kind of an empty spot for us too. That kind of 15 to 21-year-old crowd doesn't listen to the radio that much. They're listening to their own music. Is that kind of what you think, or is that why you don't have that crowd?
Well, we actually do. You just don't see them that much.
They're lurking in the shadows.
They're lurking in the shadows. They're running around. It's funny because music these days is so diverse,
Yep.
and because it's gotten easier and easier for people to record and make their own music, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of bands out there.
Sure.
And that's kind of the challenge and the beauty. The reason we get 3,000 submissions is because there's tons and tons and tons of bands out there that are doing really great stuff.
Excellent.
And you can find your niche, and once you
Yep.
find your niche, people kind of go with that, and it becomes word of mouth.
Sure.
These guys are good, and if you like them, you like this. And with streaming happening more and more, there's just so many ways to get music.
Hey, with 3,000 people applying, or 3,000 bands, do you try to not only promote
mic.
local, but do you also try to have a mix of people who might be doing music as a hobby and those who are doing it with the intention of it being a full-time job?
Well, we go for a mix. We always focus more on people who are local, but we're always also looking for bands that really represent their style of music. We're kind of agnostic in style, meaning we have a lot of heavy metal, we have a lot of rock, but we also take in any kind of music that is really a good representation of what they're doing. But it does tend to be local bands as much as possible, and then spreading out from there.
One of the things I was trying to ask was hobby versus being a full-time.
Well, for the music festival, a lot of the folks we get are semi-pros or pros, and then we have some that are doing it amateur. And my personal belief is that if you're a musician, you're a musician. Some people are making their living off of it, some people are doing other things. Making a living off of music is a very hard thing to do these days. So, and there are actually a lot of the really great musicians are people who do it because of the passion, and they do something else for their living.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting. Now, I just want to remind everyone you're listening this morning to Sound Off with myself, Greg Pregent, and Bettina Chadbourne here on AM 1290 and FM 107.5 and Wkbk Radio.com. If you have any comments or questions for our guests, give us a call at 357-1290 or email us at gpregent@wkbkradio.com. And Kevin, so maybe you can quickly go down and give us an example of some of the bands and the genres that are playing on Saturday.
Okay. On Saturday, we most of the stages are a mix of styles, except a couple. We have City Tire, which tends to be more edgy. We have Off Hook playing there, Kennedy Drive, Lobotomobile, which is a very popular band in the area, and they do really good stuff. Yeehaw Jihad, Sleeping Terms, TIP, which is a band that only gets together to come to play music festival.
Oh, well, that's
yeah,
nice.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And Modern Fools. We have at the co-op this year, which is great. We have a great relationship with the Monadnock Co-op. They do a picnic, and we have a bunch of bands there.
Yep.
We have the 1-2-3s, which was a very popular band a few years ago here, coming. Sleeper Hit, Jake McKelvey's going to be playing there. Colors and Patterns, Shadwell.
I saw a reggae band there last year at the Food Co-op. They were
Yeah.
really good. And are they coming back, or?
I think they might be.
I can't remember the name of them,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But yeah, good music, and plus food at the co-op.
Yeah.
And 1 to 6, they're having the barbecue
I
out
know,
there, too.
it's fantastic and well worth coming to.
Mhm.
Definitely.
And so to remind people, too, I mean, these venues are pretty, I mean, some are complicated, I mean, not complicated, some are big, but some are very basic. I mean,
Yeah.
on Lamson Street, they're more or less, there's a little tent out there, and people are just playing under a tent, more or
Exactly.
less, right?
Yeah, and pretty much that's it. The interesting thing that somebody pointed out that I didn't really think about was all our music. We don't have stages. We just have places where people play,
Right, yeah.
and all the musicians are absolutely accessible.
Right, and that's exactly what I thought was really cool. I mean, you could stand literally 5 feet away from these people while they're playing their music.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice. And what about some of the other bands and some of the other
Okay.
stages?
Well, this year we're really lucky because Scores is become a sponsor and a stage for us. So we're going to have a bunch of bands there. Lori Diamond, Ben Carr. There's this really great, I just got a call recently, Jared Hanrahan is his name. He's a blues guitarist, 14 years old, out of New York City. And his dad called up and asked if he could be part of the event because they've come to it in the past and they've seen what we do and they really want to be involved.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
great, yeah.
And at Scores, we're going to have an after party starting at, I think, 10 o'clock on Saturday night, featuring the Van Buren's, which is a band that people should see. If you've never seen them, they are a blast. They are a lot of fun. You just want to just kind of dance the whole night away with them.
Excellent, excellent.
So,
So a lot of different styles. You have just every style playing, from punk to country to acoustic to folk and bluegrass, and any other interesting different styles too?
we have the Chamber Orchestra at Heberton Hall this year.
Okay.
They play every year. We have some electro punk coming and electro rock through Black Eskimo, which is basically a band out of Temple. Hug the Dog is going to be our featured band this year. They're local guys, and they're really, really good. They're going to be playing at 8:45 at Railroad Square. Zach Benton, who's here today, is going to be playing a little bit for us too. Zach is one of our mainstays. He's kind of a fixture in the community here.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I just was looking at Zach going, okay, you're going to be on here in a second, and when you're finished telling us about the acts that are going on.
Okay. We have the Monadnock Brass Quintet coming. We have, let me think, we actually have a couple bands coming up from Northampton that are basically offshoots of the Winter Pills, which was a local group.
Okay.
That they're coming up, they want to be part of it. What else do we have here? We have some folk, we have straight up blues, we had eco folk coming through the Solar Sisters. We have one woman playing at the Miller Brothers stage named Alice Danger, and when she wrote in, she said, I really want to come because it's my birthday and that would be the best present in the world. So we couldn't refuse her. She's really good too.
Good name. I like the name.
Yeah. We have at Green Energy Auctions, Wkbk has put together a entirely metal setup, so it's going to be all metal bands all day.
Pablo's going to like that.